So I just got home from work. This is going to be like the fifth reshoot that I'm doing for the CU2 video. Woo! I'm gonna be a little quieter, just a tad, you know. Um, and I'm gonna talk about the tier, or at least how it's developed, uh, from the first few days, how Pokemon are doing, and just kind of just what the tier's about, you know. I'm Charley, and yeah, I hmm, I guess I'll get started here with Alcaspan. Alcaspan. Um, Alcaspan kind of reminds me a bit of it's I'm gonna say it's not exactly the strongest start. It's kind of a B tier. Like it's not that strong, but it definitely has a lot of quirks to it that like I could see it being used over other options. It has a massive attack stat of 122, which is about the good old average for most breakers. It's only really beaten by a couple Pokemon, and it's the second highest among grass types, the highest being a unviable bird. I'll get to that one. But yeah, Alcaspan has a big attack stat and has pretty okay 194, 104 bulk, which reminds me a bit of Celebi. Uh, just this Pokemon reminds me a lot of kind of just Celebi in general, but more of like the physical side of it. It has access to normal moves, has Body Press, it has Earthquake, High Horsepower, Mega Horn because it's like a deer, Rock Slide, Stone Edge, Surf. I don't get why it gets Surf, but it also has Wood Hammer, has Horn Leech, and it has some basic utility moves like Roar and String Sap, along with Swords Dance. If you want to go on the offensive, and Synthesis if you need reliable recovery. It's it's kind of an okay mod. It's not that bad, but it's not that good. Like it's kind of B tier. Not a lot of strong opinions on it. I've seen it used, kind of kicked my ass. It's good. Alcremie, meanwhile, is honestly kind of a top tier threat. I'd say it's like A, maybe low S. It's not all the way up in P rank. Okay, I'm ranking this going from F to P, with P being the highest. This is kind of S A tier. It's up there. It's really good. It's a poison type regenerator pivot, incredibly similar to Galarian Slowbro in a way, but it lacks. It kind of has its ups and downs. It doesn't have Future Sight or Stab Future Sight, which is a down, but it has more utility like knockoff and uh, stickly or sickly sugar, which basically acts as a anti-omni boost if you're hit by it and you're poisoned. It doesn't drop your defensive stats, but your offensive stats basically take a bit major hit whenever you're hit by it, and that makes it really, really hard to fight if your team is been poisoned by just Pokemon in general. Um, it's a good reason why you should probably run a Heal Bell set on one of your other Pokemon or your own Alcremie, because Alcremie has aromatherapy. But yeah, it's Fairy Poison. It also has Fairy Stab, which is very important, especially because there's multitude of dragons running around. And has a lot of utility. Has reliable recovery and recover. Has Switcheroo. Has Calm Mind. I've seen Calm Mind used. It's a bit scary with Calm Mind, but physical breakers just destroy that. Restored power if you want to really lean into Calm Mind. Toxic Spikes, Substitute. It's just a good mod. Um, has a surprising amount of Psychic Stab, but then again, Alcremie does too. And it has Giga Drain, which I don't think Alcremie even has that. Like normally, but that's cool. This Pokemon's cool. I like it. Yeah, Abshorn, Herbjorn, man. I don't know. It's a funny bear. It's a bear with antlers. Not sure how that works, but I'm completely for it, man. This thing's like a forest cryptid, and it's kind of cool. Um, I have kind of a lower attack stat at 115, at least for something that is. It could be considered an offensive threat, but I'd consider it more of a defensive threat because of the fact that it has 100, 180 defenses with grass and ground and thick fat. Which means you're a grass type who is not afraid of fire types. Well, there's one fire type you shouldn't be afraid of, but we'll get to him. Abjuring kind of takes the utility of what Alcaspec does and just kind of cranks it up a bit. It has Earthquake, it has Stab Earthquake, it has Knockoff, it has Leech Seed, Refresh. Uh, it lacks reliable recovery. I think Slack Off can maybe do a little good on it. Stealth Rock, Roar, Substitute, Yawn. It's generally just a good mod. Uh, Horde Leech. Yeah, it has a bit of utility. It also has bulk up if you want to run a bulk up set, which I could 100% see this thing running because it's oh yeah, it also has yawn. It's one of the few yawners in the tier. Let's see. Uh, Looking at its mid like fake moves, it doesn't have any that like are notable. That kind of sucks. Azum, Noiti and Azumarill is kind of I want to classify it as kind of the anti-meta set or the anti-meta Pokemon because like it's kind of like Azumarill where like at first glance you don't want to use it. Right? Its stats are shit. It has a pretty okay typing that like seems good on paper but has a lot of weaknesses. It doesn't have a lot of synergy. Um, yeah, no, in this tier, no, Water Fire is really good defensively. Uh, Generally, just Fire is a really good defensive typing in this tier due to the abundance of ice, bug, and just I guess I wouldn't say rock. Rock types are valuable because of their ability to hit these guys, but still. Um, Azumarill here has a clone of huge power called Sauna Power because it's like a Sonic guy. You know, he's relaxing, he's steamy. He you double the special attack of yourself, and it clicks Surf and Flamethrower, and has Future Sight. Has a lot of things going for it. You could run choice specs and plow through things. You can just run a defensive set with like Will-O-Wisp, Substitute. You have actually access to neutralizing gas if you want to be that guy. It's just a really old Pokemon. I wouldn't say it's bad, right? It's not bad, but it is kind of held back by its B tier, which is only 60. Which kind of sucks. Next up is Ballrected. It it kind of has a little going for it. It has Silk Trap and then it has an Insta Crit move with Sniper. So like that can plow through things if you want, and then also set up Silk Trap occasionally to like slow down the opponent to set up a Hunter Shot on them, which is the crit move. It has other moves, of course. It has Ice Beam, Meteor Beam. I think Meteor Beam, Silk Trap could be the way to go. Your defenses are okay. You really, really do not like flamethrowers being thrown around, but otherwise, yeah, you're a pretty good Pokemon. You're one of the few Pokemon who is no, no, never mind. You're not able to take on the Wasp, which kind of sucks because Bracken is cool. Balabor can't be used right now. You can bring it up, but it has no moves. You can't use the moves. It has a good stat spread, don't get me wrong. If this thing has Calm Mind, which I believe it does, then I'd probably use that. But Balabor just doesn't work right now. despite the fact that it's a normal Pokemon. Beartond is kind of the King Gambit uh, of the tier. I'm called the King Gambit of the tier because it's the Pokemon that got a stupid evolution, and uh, now it's just really powerful. What are the two things holding Beartic back outside of its frailty, right? So gained bulk. What else does it have? Reliable recovery and priority. It has Ice Shard now. It has bulk up. It has Slack off. You can see where this is going, right? It's a priority killer. It uses priority. It's pretty cool. Um, it has all of Beartic's like actually decent uh coverage and whatnot, but also has the access to priority and whatnot, like Sword Stance, and it has a similar stat spread to King Gambit, with an ability that allows it to do a little more damage if it's above a certain HP threshold, which is really good for what it does, which is finish games occasionally. Though I'm not gonna lie, there is a better game finisher, and I think he may need a nerf. Ooh, who may that be? I'll get to him. I'll get to him, right? So, Lycanon is probably one of my favorite Pokemon in the tier, mainly because I like fast Intimidate pivots, like Landorus. They are a staple usually on my teams because of how simple they are. Like, you click U-turn, and you get momentum for free against physical attackers. The only thing you need to work out for whenever using by cunning is running into uh, Ice Shard, priority Ice Shard, or like it's just like neutral Mach Wedge from from a few Pokemon. Accelerock, just don't get priority. That's gonna suck. Otherwise, you should be good. Um, your stats don't look good on paper, but Intimidate really bolsters your physical bulk, and your HP is pretty good for your speed tier. So yeah, you should act as a pretty good pivot, stacking Intimidate on Pokemon. You have Roost, you have Foul Play, Night Slash. I don't think Foul Play goes well um, with Intimidate. I think Opportunist Foul Play would be the set here if you want to use Foul Play. But you have Close Combat and Brave Bird. This is like a crow, by the way. It's like a two-headed crow. It's pretty cool. It has Memento. It has uh, Roost if you want to stay healthy. Steel Wing if you want to hit the plenty of steel types. Though you should just U-turn on them. You have the best phaser move in the game, Ignoring Roar, which is Whirlwind. There is a Pokemon that actually does punish the use of wind moves, so I will throw that out there. Be a little careful when using wind moves, right? Be a little careful. Just a little, not too much, but be a little careful. I'll get to them. Next up is Borgenite and Borgenite Mega. Borgenite is certainly an interesting Pokemon, right? Now, you kind of look at it originally and you're like, what do I do with this? How do I make this work for me? Because it has an ability to set up Stealth Rocks just without having Stealth Rocks on it. It gets attacked and then throws out Stealth Rocks. It takes a little damage from it, but yeah, you know what? That's fine. Right? That's fine. You can leverage your okay typing sometimes, and your amazing non-existent speed tier actually for being able to not instantly lose against one of the tier's scariest threats, which is kind of cool, I guess. Oh yeah, and then you can also Mega Evolve, and then you have Pixelate Tri Attack, which is definitely a move of all time. I wouldn't say it's good, but like it's an interesting option. Pixie like try attack? Like damn, is that bitch doing damage? But yeah, you have a bunch of utility, and that's pretty cool. And then there's the pre-evo, which um, the Jolt Smash, the person who made it, has been using a little bit to kind of show off innards out and how utterly broken it is. So yeah, you can set up stealth rocks, you can punish people with rocky or rough skin. You have pixelate if you want to mega evolve and abuse that and your new fairy typing. Yeah, it's just good mod. Calderlagia is I'm gonna say it's an unfortunate Pokemon because hypothetically it's really good. Mainly, it's used for bracing special attacks, neutral special attacks. A lot of things that it just hit it neutrally, right? It's really good as kind of a pivot, though. Something I've noticed whenever using it or seeing it used, its Firebug typing really kicks it in the ass because knockoff hits it, right? And like it takes okay damage from knockoff, and now it can't come in against stealth rocks. And one of the things that it does, and it tries to spin rocks away. So you can't use this as a spinner. So what do you use it for instead? Well, it has Wish. It has the most HP out of anything Wish in the tier. This is kind of like using Salamence for Wish, though, where it's like a pretty okay Pokemon for doing it, but it's not good. It's just okay. It's the option we have. Boiling Deluge is a pretty good move. It doesn't work well because of the fact that it's capped at 1 HP right now for its passive damage, which sucks. But whenever that gets working, that's going to be a good option, right? I'm pretty sure water types take more damage from it. That's good. We need more stuff to punish water types. Let's see, right? Oh yeah, and Cadaver also has Haze if you want to run that, I guess. Scald. Scald is good. You can spread burns with Scald. It's just good Pokemon. It's not great, but like the presence of rocks really punishes it, and that sucks because rocks are everywhere. Charcoal, meanwhile, is generally just a better Pokemon, which I don't like saying that, like generally, but I'm just gonna be real after kind of comparing the two. Charcoal right now is in a better position to do what it wants to do because it can do the same thing of like passing around wishes, but it has a better defensive profile for it. It can keep up the damage and it can heal off stuff, and it's a better Pokemon for it. Also, you could fill it away Citrus Berry if you want to scare people with an offensive threat. Though let's be real, there are better setup sweepers in the format than Charcoal because of its 55 speed. It'd be a little scary, but I wouldn't say it'd be good. Though that is set potential because it does have Head Smash if you really want to slam flying types. There's a couple of flying types you really want to just get rid of. So yeah, Head Smash is an option. You have Wish, you have Flip Turn. Uh, you just I don't know. You have a physical move, Fire Physical, that can just burn people. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I think just the play is Flip Turn, Wish, Boiling Bash, and then fourth move for just whatever you want, man. Whatever fits your Pokemon. I think Scale Shot could be funny too. Maybe Final Gambit. No, there's better Pokemon for Final Gambit bullshit. I'll get to him. Uh, what's next? Dracollision is Religion's usurper. I'm gonna say this is what Religion wanted to be. This is Religion like after it hit the gym. It has a thematic reasoning for its existence. It has Intimidate, it has Dragon's Maw, and it has Wrecking Ball. Wrecking Ball is literally just better Unseen Fist. All of this user's moves will break, protect, and screens. All of them instantly gone. So like this thing hits the field and throws off an attack, your defenses are gone. because it just doesn't care. And it doesn't ignore them, by the way. It breaks them. So like this thing it doubles with like rock slide. Oh boy, that thing. Gosh, this thing seems like a trick room terror. It has fighting and steel stab, which is really good because there's not a lot of fighting types in this tier. Um, it would have dragon stab, but you have to sack wrecking ball for that, and I can't do that. I'm sorry, John. I can't get rid of wrecking ball because I'm a Miley Cyrus fan, and I like being able to bypass like literally every single protect move ever. Period. So yeah, Draco really good Pokemon. I'd recommend using it. It has a good defensive profile. It has bad speed, but that works for it because it has Gyro Ball. There are slick Pokemon that kind of don't take a lot of damage from Gyro Ball, so you probably should have like Iron Head instead. Do you have Iron Head? You have Iron Head. Yeah. Okay, use Iron Head, right? Iron Head, uh, bulk up, I believe. Yeah, it's just a good Pokemon. And it feels like Religion kind of thematically. It's kind of like just the better designed one, right? So yeah, that's Draco. It's Draco, but doesn't have fighting in the name. Speaking of Drac in the name, we have Dracrab. It's a fighting rock type with a move with an ability called Patience. Now, let me just explain some of the things this thing can do, right? Before I even explain what Patience does, it is a rock type with Focus Punch, Head Smash, Cross Chop, Stone Edge, Stealth Rock, Swords Dance, but Swords Dance is fake because you have Home Claws, um, Knockoff, Sub, Trailblaze. You know, I'm just listing off things. So what does it do? Right. I've seen a fake ass weak armor set running around like, oh, it's a Swords Dance weak armor sweeper. No. It uses its ability called Patience. It has the patience to do so. So what does patience do? It kind of does a similar thing to how Aegislash works, where Aegislash likes to swap between status moves and offenses, but usually it struggles with that because of the synergy between the two not working that well. Like its stats change, but once you're frail and in the offensive form, you need the King Shield in order to turn back, and things can exploit that, right? Crab has an ability called Patience, where it deals a little extra damage after using a status move. And its attack stat is already really good, right? It has a really good defensive profile with 55, 132, 91. So, like, on the special side, it's okay. But, like, physically, this thing can take a hit, right? It can take a hit. So, it has Head Smash, right? So, you Hone Claws and then you Head Smash them. Or you Hone Claws and then you Stone Edge because you don't want to kill yourself, or Cross Chop, which is basically Stone Edge but fighting type. You can substitute and then Focus Punch. This thing has Sub Punch. I forgot to mention that, right? This thing doesn't have a move to abuse Sub Punch like Breloom, and I feel like it should have that. Like something to warrant switching. I wouldn't say Sulkier, but maybe something to like help in like maybe something to help Sub Punch. I think Thunder Wave could work. This thing having Thunder Wave would be really good for just generally. Yeah, I think Thunder Wave or Glare could work. Not Glare. Glare would be too overpowered, but like Thunder Wave. I think Thunder Wave could work. Right, because you set up them being paralyzed, and then you can sub, or you can just Focus Punch there, or you can just do a lot. Right, this thing can do a lot. It has a pretty okay speed tier, and it can do a lot. And I like the dynamicness of Drackrab. Also, it has stealth rocks. So you get the stealth rock and then kill something from that. That is so cool. And now we have Fauntful. Fauntful's like a flying deer, I think. And it's a fast Pokemon with Dazzling. And it has Encore. It has uh yeah, it has Fairy, and it has Flying Stab. It also has some other stuff, but those don't really matter because it's mainly a utility Pokemon until it decides not to be. Um, its main gimmick is using Dazzling to stop things from killing it instantly, and it does damage. It's good against priority. That's pretty cool. It also has an ability called Envious. Right, it's hidden ability. It's custom to the format. Basically, you get the Patience boost. Right, same thing from Patience, but instead of it being set up by status moves, it is set up by you attacking a target that is at full HP. Basically, you can kill some frailer targets who are, you know, they normally just like kind of they survive at like 10 HP. Fawnful just doesn't care. Fawnful really is just like, okay, we don't have spikes up, fuck it, we ball. And I wish it carried this into the Mega Evolution because the Mega Evolution has a massive attack stat. Right, its attack stat it just jumps by 10. Its speed increases by 20. It gains some defenses, so like it's actually a threatening Pokemon now, right? It has long reach, and it's like, oh, it has long reach. Okay, what are the contact moves? Do Brave Bird, I guess, Play Rough, Brave Bird and Play Rough. That's what you're using, but your ability now sucks for a base stat total increase. Yeah, it's really just kind of a double-edged sword. I don't. Fawnful is just not the type of Pokemon in Mega Evolve. Borgenite does have some utility for Mega Evolving, mainly it being able to blast through things harder, and particularly being able to underspeed Sunflare, which is really good, or Soulflare. So yeah, Fauntful could be a little better, but I guess it isn't. I guess Envious on the Mega Evolution would be a little too much, maybe. Who knows? Alright, now we have something that is definitely not too much. Free Blend. The only use that I can see for this thing is Grassy Surge and Choice Band. It clicks Choice Band, Leaf Blade, and it doesn't even benefit from it. It just sets up Grassy Surge to keep things healthy. It kind of has Sleep Powder, but like, let's be real. It's not using Sleep Powder because this thing dies if you miss Sleep Powder. And at Speed Tier, its Speed Tier sucks for what it wants to do. There are so many things faster than it that just kind of threaten it. So yeah, um, yeah, don't use free plug. It's just not good. I wish it was good because there's something going on there, right? There's someone's trying to cook something, but it's like a weird gimmick Pokemon. I don't like that. Speaking of weird gimmick Pokemon, now we have Feromu. Look, this is Toho Projects. This is Toho Projects horrors. This is why you don't upset a Toho fan because they enter a slate and then they submit fucking Kirno. This is literally just Kirno. It has Water Veil, it has Pixelate, and it has Refrigerate. The reason this thing doesn't have Fairy Stab is purely because it has Extreme Speed. This thing is doing the same thing Hemogoblin does, but with Iron Bundle like stats. It has 105 attack and 111 speed, so like even if you do find a way to outspeed this, right? Even if you do find a way, there's a couple Pokemon that do just naturally outspeed it, right? We have By Cunning, we have Lumigold, we have Fawnful, Polypid, Syneptic after Phazon exists, it stops existing, and then we have Lindolay, right? Feromu can just ignore that, and then it KOs all of them with Refrigerated Extreme Speed, right? Super effective against Snipek. Polypid has basically no physical bulk without Marvel scaling it up, which it doesn't want to do because it wants a thick fat. Um, which I guess you could maybe tank like one hit, and then what are you doing back without Mega Evolving? You're doing nothing back, right? You're doing nothing back. I guess Ancient Power. Energy Ball? I think you Energy Ball it back. It wants to run Energy Ball. So, like, I guess Energy Ball it back. I don't like Polipid. It's just not good. Or I don't like this guy. Like, this is supposed to be Kirno, but why is it a water type? Why does it have Water Veil? I I get that Kirno is dark. It's her clothing's dark blue, but like this doesn't justify her getting fucking scald. Why does she get scald? That's not even the worst move she gets, right? Pixelate Extreme Speed and Scald like already sounds like a sin, right? This thing can like pixelate explosion, refrigerate extreme speed. That's a cool gimmick, right? But the problem was this thing wants to use a move that boosted speed, and that move that the person chose was fucking rapid spin. It doesn't even want to use spin. It wants to use extreme speed. It wants to use like quick, like whenever extreme speed drop, it wants to use quick attack because the boost being just better. There's no reason to set up with rapid spin or use rapid spin anyway, right? Because there's one more thing up this damn thing's sleeve. There's one more thing that just it grinds my gears to no end, and that is perfect freeze. It is a one PowerPoint move. You freeze them. You do 100 damage and you freeze them. It is it, it has 100 accuracy, so it can't miss unless you're running like unless you get it like an accuracy drop from fucking Muddy Water or something. Yeah, you won't miss Perfect Freeze. Alright, so you throw out Perfect Freeze, it's basically a slightly more powerful Ice Beam. It's like, okay, you're doing Ice Beam damage. And then it freezes them. No matter what Pokemon it's doing, they're frozen now. And there's nothing they can do. There's only a few Pokemon who can even thaw themselves, and those Pokemon usually resist Perfect Freeze, which is convenient, right? You can switch it in, but a lot of them are just punished by Farumo's water type moves in general. Charcoal being one example, right? Flare Blitz, it gets blasted by Hydro Pump or Liquidation, I guess. Right? It doesn't like persistent moves. This thing has Drill Run, just in case you know. Going into your fire type felt safe, right? Your fire type that resisted water. Ooh, I'll be safe. And then it drill runs you. Let alone the fact that this thing is narrowly avoiding being a fairy. I don't feel like this belongs here. Like the person who made it is an asshole, and now we're just kind of stuck with it because being polite and whatnot. I just, what is this? Like, why is this here? This doesn't feel like it should be here. Because, like, this thing's just literally here now from Toho Project. There's no changes, right? It's a water type because it dances on lakes. And why does it have spikes? This thing doesn't need spikes. It doesn't need Scorching Sand. It doesn't need Scald. It doesn't need a lot of the moves that it has. It doesn't need Liquidation. This thing, like, why? The Chilly Reception is one of the only moves that I feel like is actually fitting and is a pretty fucking powerful move, right? Chilly Reception. Like this thing needs a fundamental redesign and a reason to be here for me to continue to like it. And the CU didn't have any Pokemon like that, right? CU didn't have any Pokemon like this. The biggest shitpost Pokemon was Religion because of its pre-slate status, right? And like this thing isn't like Kupooch overpowered. It's not Cartridge overpowered, right? Because Cartridge was broken because it just couldn't be nerfed, and Kupooch was overpowered because it's fucking Kupooch, right? It's the Steel Beam Magic Guard Pokemon. That is the thing it does, and it's really good at it. But then people found out the fact that it has shift gear, and then they started running physical sets, and then the tier died. This thing right here, like, there's so much going on here that I just don't. It needs to be narrowed down. It needs an identity besides just it's Kirno. Kirno can throw out spikes, right? Kirno can set up screens. Kirno has rapid spin. Kirno having rapid spin, I like that, right? I like that this thing has rapid spin. I like that this thing has shilly reception. It's just like there's also a bunch of moves that it shouldn't have. They just shouldn't be there. It has all the tools, and I don't like that. That just doesn't fit. A lot of how CU1 worked was some Pokemon just didn't have the tools that they needed, but still worked because somebody needed to work around, and so they needed competition between the options, right? So here we have Fumura. It's a mixed attacker. It's fast and it has rapid spin, but it never uses it because it has extreme speed. What a what? It's just sad. It's just a sad little thing. Gravelly. I'm gonna say this is one of the few Pokemon that I genuinely enjoy what it's trying to do here. Actually, let me rephrase that, right? Because that makes me sound like an asshole, and I just went on a rant like an asshole about a Pokemon. I don't feel any mercy about that, to be honest. No, that was completely deserved. Uh, Gravelly here. Gravelly is it has so much going for it for me to like lay into it like it's like a bad Pokemon, but it just isn't. It's like, oh, it's another special sided Pokemon with an okay speed tier and like okay defenses and has okay bulk. That's cool. It has natural gear, it has corrosion. First thing here, it has corrosion. The only Pokemon that has corrosion right now in like the base game is Salazzle. And Salazzle is like forced into being the toxic everything set, right? In the tier that it is in the tier that's in, it's forced to like run sub and then two moves and then toxic because it likes sub toxicing things, right? It uses it like an offensive Pokemon rather than a defensive Pokemon. And I feel like that is such a like as a waste for the ability, right? Because we also put on Glomora, but Glomora just has such a better ability in Toxic Debris, so we just use that instead. Despite the fact that Corrosion would be great on Glomora, you could just poison stuff, and like I feel like that'd be a good gimmick for Glomora, but it has Toxic Debris, so oh well. Gravelly here. Gravelly is pretty okay. I like Gravelly. It has Natural Gear and has Corrosion. Really, two really good abilities. Hellspell's rooted, but I'll get into that a little later because I want to get into its moveset, right? Chloroblast, I don't like more than like Electrode getting Chloroblast. There's a couple Pokemon out here who get Chloroblast. I'm pretty iffy about it. But this thing has Clear Smog. This thing has Disable. It has Eerie Spell, Encore, Draining Kiss, Flower Trick. I guess another move that I'm just like, why is this here? I guess it works, but oh well. Giga Drain, Hex, Knockoff, Leech Seed, Memento, Nightshade. You don't want to use Nightshade. I'm gonna be real. This thing has enough special attack to like do whatever. Um, Protect, which is important by the way. I'll get to why. Um, Sludge Bomb, Sludge Wave, Stone Spore, Switcheroo, Insist, Taunt, Toxic, Toxic Spike, Will-O-Wisp. This has a lot of utility, and then it has the nail in the coffin. The nail in the fucking coffin. Sulfuric solution. This thing is based off the lily of the valley, which is a symbolic flower, particularly for its potent poison that symbolizes death. Now let me paint you a picture, right? You're pulling up this tier with let's say you're bringing a Mega Aggron to this, right? That is the most wall Pokemon of all time. You pull up to this little flower and you're like, you can't hurt me. I'm a steel type, you're a poison type. And then this thing busts out sulfuric solution. Your Aggron just took super effective damage from a poison attack. And is at half HP. Through filter. That is what this Pokemon does. It counters steel types. And that is utterly genius. Right? Because grass and poison are the grass already resists steel stab, which is kind of it's just kind of a fact, right? Not a lot of like a lot of things resist it, and one of them is grass. So like, what is a steel type gonna do to you? It's like, oh, it has earthquake, but you're a grass type. You're neutral because of the poison. Okay, what? Okay, it has a fire move. Buddy, not the best one you're gonna get against this thing is like fire punch, and even then, like what? Where's that going? Um, right. Okay. Cool. So like your steel type. Maybe it's Skarmory. Maybe it has Brave Bird. What does Brave Bird Skarmory do against this thing? Brave Bird Skarmory doesn't want to get close to this thing because of corrosion and poison. This thing can poison Skarmory. Outside of this tier, I think Revali would be OU material because of just what it does. This thing is capable of. I mean, I wouldn't say it's capable of 1v1ing King Gambit, but it definitely acts as like. I feel like thematically, I think this thing could kill King Gambit. But like in practice, no, it's definitely not going to kill King Gambit because King Gambit's going to Sword Stance and then it's going to Sucker Punch, right? It's going to Concave Cow. It's going to do all the things that King Gambit does. I also loathe King Gambit and its design, so like Bisharp was already kind of iffy for me, and I was like, oh, they made an evolution for Bisharp. That sounds pretty cool. I mean, Bisharp was already really. I kind of didn't like the design of it, but like I think the evolution did well until I looked at Supreme Overlord. So oh well. Yeah, and then I'll just spoil what Rooted does real quick because I never explained that. Rooted basically ingrains you on switching, which means that this Pokemon can also bait trappers in things that attempt to trap you. You can run Shed Shadow and just ignore that if you really want to. Which means that this is a guaranteed counter for Shadow Tag because you're also going to have leftovers recovery and you're also going to poison things. Right? This thing is a literal perfect counter to Wobbuffet. And I like that. I really like that. There's a lot going on in this Pokemon. It's very complex and deep with like what it can do, and I really enjoy that. I really like that. I'm sorry that like more and more that like my analysis of these Pokemon are like getting better. The first few are like really simple, and then we get to and then we get the bike cutting, and then things start to fall apart, and where like my analysis goes a little deeper, and then the Fumaro rant really just ramps it up. Like, ah, I hate this thing. I do I hate it though? Like, it's a funny Pokemon, right? It's funny, but like, is it needed? Do I want it here? And the answer is no. I don't want it here. If I ever host a tournament for this tier, right? If I'm the one hosting it, I'm not allowing Fumaro purely on the principle of I don't like it, like on a personal level. Like I don't like it on a competitive level, and I don't like it on a personal level because it just feels like a laugh in the face. I guess. So yeah, that's Square Valley, and that's more I hate Fumaro shit. So, oh well. Have Grinder is scary. There's not a lot of wind moves out there, right? And that's what Have Grinder wants to abuse, right? It switches into a wind move with its literal god-killing HP of 165. Oh, it's big. It has pretty okay defenses. It wants to switch into a wind move. Okay, cool. What does it do? After that, it gains a +2 to speed. Its speed is bad, right? It's just straight up bad. Like, not gonna sugarcoat it. 38's not good. If you max it out, it's 192. 384. That's actually a good speed tier, which is a little scary because after that happens, the magic begins because your attack stat is 98, which is par. It's very close to 100. Why does this matter? Why does this matter in the long run, right? What are you doing here? Among your pretty okay movable and pretty okay set of utility, you have a little something called Fishious Rend. I'm pretty sure everybody listening to me here, something clicked in your brain. Something. This thing isn't Dracovish, right? Nothing can be like Dracovish. There will never be another Pokemon like Dracovish. And yet, a little bit of that magic sits before me right now. And I like that. I like that there's a Pokemon like Dracovish here. We didn't need a Pokemon like Dracovish. Something that can punish things for being slow. But, you know what? In a tier like CU with the people who played his tier, that's pretty cool. We don't really tend to like the people who played CU1 didn't tend to like the speed tier was low. The speed tier was low, right? So like a Pokemon gaining a lot of speed was usually a big deal, right? So have Grinder has a way to gain a lot of speed and it has a way of punishing things for being slower than it, which is so cool for something that's meant to be a bulky Pokemon. I I legitimately adore this thing. I went from like, oh, it's just a whale Pokemon with pretty okay moves. What does it do? And then I saw that it has a way to boost its speed and it has Fishious Rend, and like something clicked in my brain. This thing is so cool for what it does, and I swear I need to find an application to use this, and I need to gut somebody's team with Fishious Rend. Like, just viscerally, I want to see the Fumo get Fishious Rended. I think that'd be pretty funny. Okay, okay. Next up is Holvine. I'm gonna be honest, this is probably the most overrated Pokemon in the tier. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It has a bunch of fire themed moves, and I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be Birding Cow from Hell, and that's pretty cool, I guess. But it's not the best fur coater in town, surprisingly. It's easily broken through with most water types. There's a lot of water types, right? And Holvine is a fire type, and while fire type is a good defensive typing in this tier, for what it offers against some Pokemon, Holvine isn't overpowered, right? It can't set up, right? It can't set up Calm Minds. So like it can't bolster its special defense. Um has Fur Coat, like okay, cool, it's gonna double its defense. But okay, let's see. There's the two water ice types which are generally faster than it, which 110 and 109. There's Parascrib, which isn't faster, but it can still it can literally just set up just any physical attacker to break through Holbein, and it's a water type. There's God, there's not. It's just like there's so many Pokemon that can easily just break through Holbein's special defense that like I don't feel like running it because of that. Like it has such a glaring issue. It's like, oh, it's the fur coat Pokemon. It's so bulky and yet it's impossible to fake on break on the physical side. But then I can just spam special attackers, and then my team doesn't care about this thing. Right? My team doesn't care about Holbein because it's spamming special attackers. It kind of sucks, right? Because like this Pokemon's really cool. It's a bull from hell. That is cool. And yet, like, it has that glaring issue. And that sucks. That really sucks. And next up is part of the glaring issue. We have Hound. Hound went from probably a pretty cool gimmick Pokemon to, yeah, I think this thing needs a nerf. Honestly, immediately. This thing needs a nerf immediately. I don't like this thing boosting its speed. I'm okay. Mm. I'm sorry, I just took a sip of my little coffee here. You know, in the middle of the night. Like a normal person. I'm drinking coffee. I'm drinking coffee. It's part of why I'm staying up. Um, good lord. Yeah, talking about this dog, gives me, the cough, apparently. I have the plague now. Gravelli used toxic, and now I have 27 seconds to live, so I'll make it short. Because I'm already 51 minutes into it. Hursthound? Or Hursthound? It's Hursthound. Hursthound. It's a dark type with Supreme Overlord and Sucker Punch. This is a King Gambit. But wait, it doesn't have chat. It doesn't have the funny move. It doesn't have Sword Stance. What do you mean? It's a King Gambit. Um, it doesn't need Sword Stance, right? There's no big defensive wall it needs to plow into because Hearthstone has Ravenger's Realm or Realm's Ravenge. Basically, uh, it's like Flail for fire types. And they combine that with Salackberry, and this thing becomes like pretty much as powerful as Heracross in Gen 3. Like, it is the game ender. This thing hits the field, and you need an answer for it, or it kills everything. And you need that answer for it, and you need to answer it with exact precision, and if you mess up one fucking thing, that thing lives, and then kills everything in sight. You cannot wall it. There is no way to wall it. The biggest walls in the tier that use Fur Coat are Ghost types. And this thing is Ceaseless Edge. Because, after this thing does its damage, it's also setting up spikes at the same time, and it's waiting for its team to like jump on the opportunity of picking up on the momentum it made, and just boom, dead, kill everything. You could also Blaze Realms Ravage if you really want to be that guy. Don't. I'm gonna be honest. Don't be that guy. It does have Magma Storm too, and early on it did use a Magma Storm set before Realms Ravage started working. But it's it's a scary win condition Pokemon. I don't like that. I don't like scary win condition Pokemon. It gives me goosebumps. It gives me silly little goosebumps, and I don't like that because not a lot of Pokemon in this tier can really survive till the end game. without just being drawn out for use. And if your team can afford not bringing out Hearst Town until the end, and then you bring it out during the end, well, fuck, shit, god damn it, fuck you, King Gambit. And your stupid Supreme Overlord ability. God, I wish that Hearst Town didn't have Flame Charge. Because we already had Flame Charge is such a problem in this tier. Um, Karaga Krabby is it's okay. Right? I just talked about a very overwhelming Pokemon, like like a Pokemon that like really that I just don't like it much, right? I don't like it much. I guess I don't like the design of it. Right? I originally liked the design of it, but now it has Realms Ravage, I'm just kind of iffy on it because now it has an option to abuse the fact that it can get the really low HP really easily because of its massive bulk, but no recovery. So it can abuse that, and then it can just kill your team. So, Crab is just a fat water type that's also a rock type, which are two really good offensive types in this tier. And it also has like um, I don't know, it doesn't have a lot of speed, but it has good special defense and has good defense and good HP, and it's bulky and has sheer force and tough claws, and just it blasts through things. Oh yeah, and it also has play rough for literally perfect coverage. That's pretty cool. It's a pretty good Pokemon. I don't have a lot to say about it. It's bulky, for sure. It's slower than Miss Hell Kong, or just a couple things that it wants to blast her, and that kind of sucks. And speed type, or it has a speed type of Holvine, which is the actual worst. Because if Holvine gets a Will Wisp on you, you're fucked. Little A, um, Little A is a bit of an issue. It's a little bit of a. It's. I'm gonna say it's a little overtuned. I think it's overtuned. Let me explain what it does. It's the fastest Pokemon in the tier, and it does the most damage. You may be wondering, like, hey, what's the caveat here? There is none. There's no caveat here. Hearst Hunt it needs a lot of setup in order to get to the point to where it is. Meanwhile, Little A just kind of hits the field, and it has Strong Jaw, Fire Fang, if you want to bring in a Steel type. Otherwise, it's going to hit you with Blitzing or the best Bug type move ever. Period. Which is the High Jump Kick of a Bug, which it has Stab on off of 125 attack. Good luck walling it. And it's like, oh, I'll just bring in my better dragon, and no, you won't. Why? It has a dragon move of its own. Literally called Dragon Hunt. It's Pursuit for dragon types. So this thing is literally the worst Pursuit Trapper or the just ever. Period. Uh, has Marvel Scale and Compound Eyes. Because Marvel Scale is needed. I think Marvel Scale is mainly for thematics, but Compound Eyes, meanwhile, interesting move, right? Because now that one downside of having high jump kick, I was like, oh, it can miss. Huh? Wait, it can't miss. Oh no, it can't miss. And it has 24 power points. And Little A has pretty okay bulk. And oh no. Yeah, you can see where it starts spiraling, right? It's the fastest thing in the tier. Has compound eyes, it can run a choice band, and can just literally click the most powerful move ever, period. And like the only thing that, you have some fire and rock types. Fire types destroyed by water. Just pair this thing with a water type, for Christ's sake. Oh yeah, and then it's also resisted by little guy. I'll get to it real quick. I'm gonna quickly brush away Lumagold. I'm not in a position to talk about Lumagold because I've seen it used once. There's some Pokemon here that I've only seen used once, right? But Lumagold didn't do much whenever it was used, right? It did the things that other Pokemon could have done, and it just died instantly upon being attacked. Like I don't want to use it. Ice Rock type and Mountaineer's okay, cool. You can not run heavy duty boots, but like I don't want to use those. Maybe if it was like immune to fighting moves and it like parried them, that'd be pretty cool. Or not parried them, not like an ultra kill parry, like a traditional like it holds up one of its claws to like steady out like a fury of blows and it just kind of pushes them to the side as they're flying in and eventually just finds a way to jab and I don't know. I Lumagult's kind of a weird Pokemon. I I'm not phrased to talk about it because it's Dice Rock. Little guy has warped the tier to unimaginable proportions, and I think it needs a little bit of a nerf. Not too big of a nerf, but I don't think this thing should have item removal in particular, right? Because like this thing is basically Tinkaton, but with Swords Dance and an actually good attack stat, and that's a little broken. I mean, Tinkaton already has Swords Dance, but like it didn't have 150 attack. This thing's like if Tinkaton really decided to choose violence, I don't really like that. Like, I think the main status should run as Heal Bell and then other utility moves because this feels like a Heal Bell. This is the Heal Bell Pokemon. That's pretty cool. But like, I don't feel like it should have knockoff, particularly because it's really good at punishing Caldmarie or Caldmarina, which is also one of its counters. And then it, clicks rocks and now can't come back in. Which kind of sucks, I guess. I feel like the other utility moves are fine on it, right? Thunder Wave, you can just bring it up ground type, but like knockoff, what are your ground type options here, right? Abshorn doesn't like being knocked off. Um, Swilen really doesn't like being knocked off, and oh my god, do not start about how Vepsno sees getting knocked off. So yeah, I think it should lose knockoff, but otherwise it's a pretty good Pokemon. It has a lot going for it. It takes less damage for things that are bigger than it, and some Pokemon have a niche of just killing it instantly, and that's fun. I like that. I kind of like that dynamic, right? It's kind of like the Pokemon you need to build around, but not in a healthy way. It's just kind of there, and I like that. I like that Pokemon. I don't like shit like Fumaro. Anyway, because Fumaro can do everything, and it's just horrible. It's horrible, and I hate it. Mousegong is kind of it's certainly a Pokemon, I guess. It has a Fairy type Defog that doesn't lower evasion, but it doesn't also clear terrain. So, like, if you want to run a grassy terrain team, use Candlelight. Use this Pokemon. It's a hazard clear. That's pretty cool. What's not cool is another Pokemon who gets knocked off, and then now it doesn't have boots, which means it doesn't clear hazards as well. And that kind of sucks. Man, I wish I actually cared as much about this, but man, it's late. I should get some more caffeine in my system actually. I don't think I'll cough again, but still. Second time's a charm, you know? Yeah, there we go. Sweet Starbucks. Or not Starbucks. But I mean it is Starbucks, but it's just like the bottles that you like buy at the store. Anyway, so Mollusket. Mollusket is another fighting steel type, which is a good combination, don't get me wrong. I don't like the fact that it shares typing with Dracolution, but I think it's one of the few cases where like I can kind of write it off because they do different things. Mollusca is a special attacker, right? It has a move called Gun Down, but it doesn't use it because it has Aura Spear. They do the same thing, except Gun Down can miss occasionally. Literally once in a blue moon though, because it's 100 accuracy. Um, Basically, Mollusca is a mold breaker special attacker that uses Steel type and Fighting type moves. That also has Flamethrower, so you can fuck up the little guy, and that's pretty cool. Otherwise, it's not much. It's kind of just your gun guy. We had a gun guy before that was Shrimpact, and now we have Mollusco, which is kind of the predecessor of that, and I like that. Right? It doesn't like being hit by special moves like at all. But yeah, it's kind of the gun Pokemon. I do feel like Gundown should probably have a little bit of a rework going. Like maybe you should do the Fishious Rent thing, where like if it goes first, its power increases by a little bit, not by a lot, right? But like if you have the draw on the opponent, it does a little more damage. But like that's my take. That's my take. Sorry. Um. Otherwise, it's just good special attacker. There's no harm in like using it. It has taunt, switcheroo, as like utility, so like you could switcheroo somebody while you're using choice specs. And it's just a good Pokemon. No harm in using it. I like it. Maria Cot, Maria Cra? I think it's Maria Crot. This poor baby. What what? How do I feel about this thing? Right, because it's a good Pokemon. I want to acknowledge it's a good Pokemon, but it's another Pokemon that I feel like doesn't have the same things that it wants to do. Right? There's a Pokemon very similar to this in the last year, which was Moderno. But Moderno had a lot of niche utilities to it. It had Trace, particularly, if you wanted to punish the use of Poison Heal, which is very common in the tier. And that was a very good dynamic that it had, right? It punished good abilities in a similar way that I think have have grinder wants to wins moves, which should be defog, by the way. It should punish defog. I think that should be a thing that it can do, but it can't, which kind of sucks. um I think Rider in particular should be able to gain a speed boost from defog, because that'd be really funny. um Murkrow is just it's just kind of there. It has Lunar Dance. That's like that's kind of the biggest thing. It's a ghost type and a normal type, and it has Lunar Dance. It's a physical attacker with Sword Stance, has Taunt, has pretty okay speed tier, pretty okay attack. It's a pretty okay Pokemon, but it's not modern though, right? It doesn't hit the same chords of game-ending salvation that Moderno did, because Moderno found an opening in any game that it like set field on, right? Because everything has a good ability, right? Everything has an ability that it can abuse, and it comes in and it abuses that. It sets up Swords Dance and it clears house. This doesn't quite do that. There's things that are faster than that, that are commonly used, and then KO it instantly, unlike Moderno, which usually tank the hit. Which okay, cool. It's just I miss Moderno. That's why I can't give a good a build like review of this guy, because I miss Moderno. I miss my baby too much, I guess. Like CU, there are a couple Pokemon that I was kind of like really into using, and like those are kind of my signatures. Whenever you like saw me in a match, I usually had one of them, like Weaving Wonder, which I literally created, and Moderno, which usually it's just a really unique Pokemon. I really like using it, and this kind of this isn't that. This is Moderno, right? And I feel like trying to use this thing to its fullest extent. It's a different Pokemon, and I want to use it, but I want to use it like Moderno. I want to switch it into powerful abilities, steal them, and then just destroy things. But God, I miss this. I miss Moderno. Yeah, I can't give a good review of this thing because like it has so many good traits. It has so many good things going for it, but like I can't give anything serious because I'm gonna compare it to Moderno, and I'm sorry about that. You know what I can't give a good review of? Good Mega Evolution mechanics. Oh boy, we get to probably I'm gonna call it the first of the big two. These are the two Pokemon that will Mega Evolve, and these are the two Pokemon that you need to prepare for if they do Mega Evolve or if they don't. And the first one is Nagler. Nagler? Nagler? I'm gonna go Nagler because it sounds cooler. Um, Nagler normally is a pretty okay Pokemon. It abuses Tough Claws, or it has Prancer or Perish Body if you want to go more on the defensive end, which you probably do because then you can flip the switch and Mega Evolve, and now you're one of the fastest things in the tier. One of you have a good attack stat along with your amazing HP. Your bulk is slightly worse, but that doesn't matter because now Ragnarok is in effect. What does Ragnarok do? Everything that is above HP, half HP, is taking damage now for fun. Uh, no, this includes you, by the way. So yeah, basically you use this thing, and the battle of attrition starts. It's the end of the match. It's the end of the round. It's the end of the battle, and Ragnarok has started, and everything's taking damage, and that's pretty cool. Nagler doesn't really Mega Evolve much, or I feel like people aren't abusing Nagler's speed here, right? Because Nagler's slow and it can pivot around, and that's pretty cool. And I wish it had reliable recovery because then it could do that forever, but it can't, and that sucks. And so it's a dark type. It's one of the few dark types, and has Ragnarok, which allows it to gain a very massive offensive presence whenever it Mega Evolves, and gains, let's see, 70 speed from its 36 to 101. I mean, it's not exactly 70, but it's close, right? It's like, or it's around 65. It's like a 65 increase. That's really good. Then again, it is gimping some of its defenses for it, so oh well. Neffingham is kind of the it's the Pokemon I was talking about earlier whenever I was referring to Fumaro. It has the same type as Fumaro. It has Sturdy and Torrent because it's a starter, and it has better special defense but worse attack. And otherwise, it's pretty much the same. Fumaro's a little faster. Neverum has more special attack by 1 point. It's just kind of they do very similar things. They rapid spin, they have spikes, they pivot around, but Neferim doesn't have all the absurd utility that Fumaro does in trade of occasionally being able to take on special attackers, and like that's it. And I really don't like that because it doesn't have freeze dry, right? It doesn't have freeze dry, and that's really good. That doesn't have freeze dry because then we have Iron Bundle on our hands. Oh wait, we already do. It's called fucking Fumaro, right? Except it's more of a physical attacker because extreme speed is more powerful because it's extreme speed. So yeah, I'm so waiting for those two Pokemon to be getting changes to make them different because then I can give a better review on Fumaro and like not just loathe over it, right? And like Neffingham's really cool, right? It's I mean it's a boring species. That's like the base of it, but like it's a really cool concept. It's really cool. I like that. So yeah, I can't really give the clouded of like I can't give a long in depth opinion about it because I haven't used it much because just perfect freeze, man. Just perfect freeze. Natemare, I feel like it's kind of in the wrong place at the wrong time right now. It's a really good Pokemon, don't get me wrong, right? It has a good defensive type, good utility, it has Parting Shot, it has Earth Power, Earthquake, it has just good stats all around. Spikes and Taunt and Will-O-Wisp and does the Runerigus thing, but then it could just kind of eh. Sorry, let me elaborate. Uh, it's not like good defensively right now because again it's weak to water. You don't want to be weak to water. You don't want to be weak to ice. And this thing's weak to both, which means that things can blast through it no problem. So yeah, it's in the wrong place at the wrong time. If there is more stuff to bolster this thing's very apparent weaknesses, like not a good ability and just bad stats and just everything, or not everything. It has a lot of good things going for it, but if it had better things going for it, or if it had a little more, I feel like it'd be. I wouldn't say top tier, but I probably say it'd be like somewhere around where like charcoal is, where it's like just good. It's a good option. It's a good option. You want to use it, right? It's a good ghost option, and you want to use it. Next up is I'm gonna kind of go through these really fast because I haven't used them much. Um, Norpec is a bag of. I'm gonna call it the Theory Mon, right? This is the Theory Moner. This is like, oh, Tinted Lens Brave Bird is like a really powerful move, hypothetically. And then you actually use it, and it's like, okay, this is just Brave Bird, but you can't resist it. Um, what do I do now? Right? Like it does the damage, and you're like, what do I do now? Because now you've taken recoil, you have a pretty okay speed tier, but now you have no physical defense, so now something can come in, sucker punch you, you die. Or Shadow Sneak, because that's definitely a move. It's a psychic type, I guess, which like you're super effective against a bunch of good types now, and that sucks. You have poison point, but that doesn't matter, like literally at all, because it just doesn't. Like, why would you use that? I guess poison point U-turn. What are you on Pheasant? No, you're Norpec. You want a Brave Bird shit. It has Beak Blast. There's another Pokemon that I think would be really good with Beak Blast and synergize perfectly with its playstyle, but it doesn't have it for some reason, and I'm kind of mad about that. But this thing does because it's a fucking woodpecker, I think. God, why does that have Beak Blast? No, go put this on the other bird. I'll talk about it in a moment here. Um, how long is this? Oh yeah, no. This is longer than the original recording. Interesting. Um, I think it's because I've kind of found more feelings for more Pokemon, so like I'm not just blasting through these, right? I'm actually taking my time here, which is neat. Um, I guess. So Parascrabite, Paracrabite. Um, it's certainly a Pokemon. It has a lot going for it, in the fact that it can literally set Wonder Room on Switchin'. Which basically, if you are an uninformed asshole like me, Paracrabite basically switches in, and everything is Psyshock, and everything is the opposite of Psyshock. Special attacks hit defense, and physical attacks hit special defense, which means, well, not a lot really. It just kind of it changes the battlefield in a lot of different ways. It kind of makes things unreliable, makes things weird. I feel like it work on a stall team. This feels like a stall team thing, because stall wants to use defenses to its best abilities, and this would be able to help with that, but it also be able to like accidentally put holes in your stall team because now you don't have an answer to Axe threat, right? So yeah, it changes the battlefield a lot whenever it hits the field, and I've been a little scared to use it because of that, right? I want to make like kind of a consistent team that like I can actually win against people with, and then I want to start exploring, right? And I haven't found the consistent team yet. I haven't found the consistency. But Paragraph Site feels like it'd be part of my experimental phase, right? I usually go through kind of like a find the consistency and then start experimenting. And I'm getting closer to the end of like the whole like finding out. It's like it has a lot of good utility, right? Like what does it have? What does it have? Calm Mind has Explosion, the Pivot Out has Magic Bounce, Protect, Psychic, Psy Shock, Recover, Teleport, Trick Room, Trick, Thunder Wave, I guess it has V-Create, or Dragon Ascent if you really want to use that off your 40 attack. Also has Aromatherapy, because, You know what? Yeah, that's fine. It also has Future Sight and Scald, I think. Does it have Scald? No, it doesn't have Scald. I feel like this would be a lot better if it had Scald. It'd be like Slowbro or something. But if Slowbro was a crab, that was also a parasite to your mind. Scary Pokemon, I know. Um, next up, next up. Um, let's see here. Pinston, I can't give a lot of opinions on. It's like Lumagold. I've seen it. I've never seen it used. It has a nice gimmick going for it with only 60, and then it has Ignition. It also has Speed Boost, which is unbanned. So, like, if Baton Pass was allowed to be able to Baton Pass Speed Boost, but it can't, which is probably a good thing. I don't have anything else on it. It looks good on paper. I haven't seen it used. Also, it just doesn't look that good. Outside of that, Polypid, oh, Polypid, my baby. This is kind of one of the Pokemon that I'm slowly falling in love with because, oh gosh, there's so much going for it here. Like, it has good utility, it has a good speed tier, it has U-turn, it has good. Oh my god, this thing has Psychic Noise. Psychic Noise is such a cool move, right? And then it Mega Evolves. Oh boy, does it Mega Evolve. So, the whole thing with Polypid is it's kind of a fast support Pokemon. It does a lot of things at once, and that's kind of cool. Um, and then it Mega Evolves, and it throws all of that out the window, and now it's a Shadow Ball cannon. It has Stab Shadow Ball, and it hits things with Stab Shadow Ball, and it kills them. It's cool. I like that. Honestly, I think the set that I use is, or that I would use, if after I master this thing, is Flip Turn, Future Sight, Psychic Noise, and I think Shadow Ball, and then it allowed a Mega Evolve, right? Because now Future Sight with Analytic allows you to throw out really powerful Future Sights. Um, so yeah, Palpit's really cool, and it also has a Mega Evolution to completely change up how it plays from a fast Bug type to a slow Ghost type. Which the tier has a lot of those, sure, but Palpit's able to actually do damage while it's Mega Evolved, right? It also has the unique advantage of being a Psychic type, which isn't heavily punished, surprisingly. There's not a lot of bug types. There's not a lot of U-turns. It's mostly flip turns and volt switches. And especially because the bug types in the tier don't really like using their bug type moves outside of Lidley, which is utterly broken, and I guess the dark type Pokemon with knockoff, which is the only thing that Polypid really fears, right? It doesn't like being knocked off. But then if it has Megastone, it doesn't need to worry about it because it has a pretty okay defense. You know what? That's pretty cool. Anyway, so I have a Pokemon that's broke as shit, mainly because of an item and its interaction with a belly drum. Support gear makes it so all recoil, all of it, literally all of it, no matter what move it is, it's only 1 HP now. You take a little damage, right? You take a speck, you get a nick, versus like taking literally 10 more billion damage. This applies for belly drum, apparently. So you belly drum for free, and now you kill everything for free. Which no, no, I don't like that. I really don't like that. Otherwise, I really like this Pokemon. I mean, support gear's interaction with like shit like I don't know, reckless head smash is really cool. Like, oh, this is a move that is literally as powerful as a Z move, and I can just use it whenever I want. Yeah, this Pokemon's really cool. I like that. I wish it had high jump kick, but it doesn't have high jump kick. Um, I feel like with high jump kick, it'd probably be a little broken. Just a thought, just a little thought, right? But yeah, basically, if this thing doesn't need Bell Drum, and like that's like the only critique, really, it's a stupidly powerful fighting electric breaker with fire and rock coverage, and that's pretty much it. That's what it does. Oh, and it has Mach Punch. It's a Mach Punch user with a pretty okay attack stat, but Mach Punch is still good. Rakatooster is a such a little shitpost. It there's a couple concepts that I kind of expect them to be a bit broken if brought onto a Pokemon. Like, oh, a bulky fairy dragon would probably be a little strong. Oh, a Pokemon with Technician Draining Kiss would probably be a little strong. Oh, a bulky Pokemon with Wandering Spirit that has reliable recovery would probably be a little strong. Rakatoonster is literally all of these combined. And it's scary. This thing's scary, man. Like you come across this thing in game and you better pray that you have an answer to it because if you cannot break it, then it will break you. Because I'm gonna be honest, it's one of those Pokemon that just doesn't die. You kind of use it. It's in Alchemy are the two fairy types you want to beat. They actually treat like fairy types because I'm gonna be real. You don't treat fairy guy or little guy like it's a fairy type. You treat it like it's a uh like it's a steel type because it's mainly a steel type. It just uses fairy to bolster its own stupidly good defenses. Um, I guess Mouse or the Lantern Pokemon. Uh, yeah, I guess that also has fairy, but you mainly use that for its fire type. No, no, Rack is primarily fairy and it has dragon slapped on there for whatever reason. Basically, you need a way to kill this thing, or it will outlive your entire team somehow through some bullshit calcs. And it's not broken, but it's kind of on like Toxapex levels of annoying. I'm gonna say this is like the kind of the this is the great equalizer, right? This is kind of a skill check Pokemon. If you come across this thing and you don't have an answer, you're fucked. Congratulations, your team's bad. Anyways, now we have Skadaver. This is the true Furco Pokemon. This is the good one. Because it's an electric type, and electric is really good defensively, and it, like, isn't. No way. It's not just completely weak to, like, one ability, and that's it. It's like, oh no. It has really good special defense, and it also has Furco on 50 defense, which, like, sounds pretty bad, but, like, after you invest in that, that's, let's see. 218 times 2 is 436. That's really good, especially for a Pokemon the Scalper, right? It's kind of fast. It has pretty good special attack. It has pretty good special defense. It has pretty good HP. Its stats are going for it. It has a stupidly good amount of the utility. Like it has Volt Switch, it has Super Fang, has Switcheroo, Taunt, Roost, Nuzzle, Hex, Defog. This is basically the Pika clone, but it's Ghost type. Ooh. Skadaver is scary as fuck, man. I'd use it. I'd recommend using it. It's really cool. I like it. Skadaver is better Holvine generally, and it has a better typing. I haven't used it personally, but I recommend other people using it because I need to find a way to kill it reliably. Um, Next up is probably one of the most interesting Pokemon in the tier. Uh, Snipe. I think it's Snipathic. Snipathic. There we go. It has an ability called Phase-In, where basically you have slow start, but during slow start you have halved contact damage off of a really good defensive bulk. So you basically become, I wouldn't say immune, but you do become more equipped to deal with knockoff, especially if you're running Colberberry. You don't have reliable recovery, which does suck generally, but you don't need it because you have two options. Either you could run a physical set and actually try and stall out for a massive physical assault, or you could be a Giga Chad and run Calm Mind and then just sweep with Air Slash Calm Mind. Then again, if you don't kill that guy switching in during your phase in thing, yeah, no, Fishious Ren's gonna kill you. Goodbye. The whale has Fishious Ren and it will kill you. Or maybe it won't, who knows, because Fishious Ren's contact. Generally, this Pokemon has a lot of dynamics going on and just a lot of things going on. I think this feels like a really good legendary, but it technically isn't one, but it also is, and it's just, I don't know. It's just, I like it. It's a really unique Pokemon. I feel like it's really well designed for what it is, which is basically just Gigas, but better. It's not. It's. Some people think it's borderline broken. I don't think it's broken. Generally, right? You have a lot of counterplay to it, and you need to like figure out how to build your team around the fact that you're using your flying and ghost slot, or you can just stack ghost types and then be weak to knockoff for the entire game. That's fun. Um, and like you're using it on something that doesn't have utility. So yeah, that kind of sucks. Basically, you run out of screens. Anyway, Soul Flare here is basically an evolution to Sunflora. And I don't need to explain anything else. It's an evolution to Sunflora. It has 130 special attack. It has solar power, and it has a move called Archaic Glare, where basically it gains a 50% power boost when it's under Sun or Trick Room. Or both. It works under both. It really works under both. 50% for both, actually, in fact. 80 x 1.5 x2 x2. Under both, its power is 480. Plus stab. But you think I'm gonna say something else? No, that's just a stupidly powerful psychic move under Trick Room. Oh wait, never mind. That's times 2 power. No, it's 405. That's the power. It's 405. Assuming that it stacks, but if it doesn't stack, it's only 270, which is I don't know. It's still pretty good. I'd use it if it wasn't a bullshit Sunflora Evo. It has Flash Fire as utility, but then it gets bugged. So there goes that, I guess. Oh well. Yeah, it has a bit going for it. It's not my personal taste though. How long is this recording? I am going on feature length film. This is so cool. Okay, Strigpire. It's uses Fire Lash, and then each Fire Lash it does also does additional chip damage because of Blazing Glory, and also has a bunch of good utility moves to like abuse the fact that it always does chip damage whenever it does damage. It has spikes. It basically has built-in like Sandstorm, and that's pretty cool. It can like it's basically offensive pressure the Pokemon, and I feel like this is what charcoal like offensive charcoal sets want to do, and yeah, that's what it does. There's not much to it really. I haven't found any funny interactions with it yet. I haven't used it much, or literally at all actually. But yeah, it's just a cool Pokemon. Swinolin is one of the ground goat or ground ice types. There's two of them. I'll get to the second one. But Snow Warning. Oh, I forgot something about Snyneptic. I do need to talk about it. Snyneptic and Beak Blast. This Pokemon should get Beak Blast, particularly because of how Phazon uh, punishes contact and how Beak Blast punishes contact. Right, this thing with Beak Blast would like actually feel like I wouldn't say a boss fight, but it'd be an unorthodox way to punish knockoff, and I like that. It also has stab from Beak Blast, right? And it like you're going slower. And I've seen Trick Room run on this Pokemon, even though this Pokemon shouldn't be running Trick Room to be completely honest, but that's just me. So so yeah, that's Nineptic. So Swinolin has an interesting move called Dust Veil, which basically gives your side a life orb boost. It can only be set under sand, which means that basically this Pokemon is a sand setter. It sets Dust Veil and then it attempts to leave. It also has Shore Rep, apparently. Which, like, okay, this Pokemon wants to run sand. Woo. What else does it do? Not much, really. It has Freeze Dry and Earth Power, but there's better Pokemon for that. I'll get to them. It has Slack Off. There's better Pokemon for that. It has Stealth Rocks, there's better Pokemon for that. It has a bunch of things, but really, it's just Dust Veil, Sand shenanigans, and, like, that's it. Take a reverse scream, and it's pretty cool. Um, Thermavolt. It does need a nerf. This is a controversial topic, right? As in controversial, I mean I don't like flame charge as a move, right? I don't like Trailblaze and I don't like flame charge. I feel like they kind of break the tier a bit, especially because bulky wall breakers gets them, and then now the bulky wall breakers outspeed everything. And Thermovolt flame charge is probably one of the scariest sets you'll ever run into ever. Period. And once you figure out how it works, so it hmm, hmm. So sorry about that. Um, it's it has a move it has the ability generator, right? To where if it hits, it starts generating power, right? It starts at a lower power of 0.75, and like all moves do that amount of damage, and whenever it's hit, it I man, it's late. Basically, whenever it's hit, it starts generating power. That power translates into your move's power. It starts at 0.75, and each charge stacks from 0.25, or stacks like a 0.25 on top of the multiplier. So eventually it hits Supreme Overlord level boost. And that is how it breaks. That is how it snaps through teams. That's how it mows down things. It does not need a setup move. It uses generator and it leverages its bulk. And it's really unique in that. And that's kind of cool. It's kind of cool doing that. Um, it has a very similar kind of attack spread to what Poth is doing. Pothmarin with support gear with Flame Charge and Full Tackle. But the difference is that you're running Earthquake and Flame Charge, particularly to get faster and then also be able to hit other Thermovolts, which you also have a lot of a utility on top of, being just you build power as you go. Versus Poth, which just does damage and I guess is also occasionally the final Gambit Pokemon. that abuses Final Gambit. Ooh. I mentioned Final Gambit earlier. It is technically the best Final Gambit user. So, yeah, Thermovolt is technically a setup sweeper, but it's supposed to be designed as a wall breaker, and that's pretty cool. Made by Catra. I tried to rework how Generator worked kind of early in development, like kind of trying to figure out how to make it work. I threw in the idea of making the charge more gradual, but you know what? How it is right now, it works. Next up is probably the scariest thing to ever exist, but only on paper. We have Vepsno. This thing has the most art of it in the entire server, which is saying something because it's not. I mean, it's one of the few Pokemon that have a defined visual. Like this, somebody drew him, right? Which was me. I drew it. This is my Pokemon. But yeah, it has the most like visual idea. It has the biggest visual identity in the server, and like the most more people have drawn him. Uh, so yeah, basically what he does, he has Frost Cloak, which is a copy of Magic Guard. Ice Ground has mixed coverage, uses Life Orb, and it blasts through things with Earth Power and Freeze Dry. It also has Ice Beam and like Meteor Beam, and has all the coverage, has all the utility, and it's just a good Pokemon in general. It's only held back by its speed tier and okay bulk. I really do mean it's okay. Like it's not resisting anything. Right? You really do not want to switch this Pokemon into something like a really powerful attack, but what you do want to do is make this thing hit the field and then start killing things. Start killing them dead. Like really dead, honestly, because a lot of the things that you want to switch into also want to hit you back. So you need to find a way in, and then you need to Life Orb Frost Cloak them to death with your absurd coverage, and then you need to leave as soon as possible, because if you don't, you die because of just massive attacks hitting you hard. Magic Guard is great though on this thing. Like the fact that this thing is Magic Guard is probably why it's so good. And like I've had it, it could be described as overpowered, but I don't think it's overpowered on this guy because of just how bad its defensive typing is and how it can't abuse a speed tier. So it's just kind of okay. It's sacrificing a lot to use Frost Cloak. It also has Heat Proof, just in case you want to have better matchup into fire types with your Life Orb shenanigans, and you have Slush Rush. You have an idea of Slush Rush does. It basically you're the scariest Snow Sweeper, par maybe Evilite Beware, and that's maybe because you have better coverage. You're doing the same thing Arctozolt once did, because you also have Thunderbolt, so like you can hit stuff with electric moves, which is pretty cool. Ventroil is impossible to switch into, and that's a good thing because it does a similar thing to Vespino, but without Life Orb, and instead it has Flash Fire on a Pokemon that really does not need Flash Fire. Otherwise, it does a similar thing to Vepsno, but kind of the opposite. It's a weird Pokemon. I don't know much about it. And along with Worm Dance, the Ouroboros, right? The Ouroboros has a really buggy ability, and it's not fully developed, but basically it's a built-in metronome, and if you break the metronome cycle, you take self-damage. It's not a lot, but you take a little, and you restart it. But the metronome is basically infinite, and it acts as the ability, and it acts with actual metronome. So, yeah, it basically has it's the snowball Pokemon. It can snowball things, but there's other better snowball Pokemon like Hurstund, and I feel bad for it because of that. Is that it? Did I do it? Oh my god, I did it. I got the room all again. God, I hope my mic worked this time. Okay. Um. yeah, that should be everything. I want everyone to have a good night because I it's one it's 1:39 a.m. for me, that is, and yeah, I should be finishing. Yeah, I should be. I plan on linking this up to the video, or making the video with this audio, and then posting it again. So yeah, have a nice night, and yeah, good night from Charlie.